So is it just gonna be you and me tonight with the Peter Weller thing, or what's going
Just,
on?
just the two of us, yeah.
All right. Well, hopefully I have enough to actually provide content.
I'm sure we'll be fine. All right, so let me kick things off here. Let me get to the right page. Because you actually haven't been on any of our 80s icons yet.
I have well no, we did what did we do? We
No,
did
no, no, yeah, you were. You were on the, one of the comedians, Harold Ramis?
uh yeah, Harold Ramis. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
Harold
yeah,
Ramis
yeah.
one.
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go. Okay, cool. All right, so then you know the format, so we're good.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. Because you couldn't decide between Robocop and Buckaroo Banzai, so you split the difference.
Yeah, exactly. Because, yeah, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
All right. All right, so I got that going. That's recording. That's doing what it's supposed to do. Yay, we're all good.
Lord of omens, give me sight beyond sight.
Greetings, Starfighter. You have been recruited by the Star League to defend the frontier against Sewer and the Kodan Armada. Get ready. Prepare for blast-off.
Hey, Doc, we better back up. We don't have enough road to get up to 88. Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Remember, no matter where you go, there you are.
This is 80's Reboot Overdrive podcast.
We were dancing just like Swayze when Jennifer Grey had a nose. Oh, how I miss the 80s, but I'm too young to really know. Too young to know.
Oh my god. That is like so dated.
All right, this is 80s Reboot Overdrive, and I am Dave. Online, I have got co-host Nick.
Hello everyone.
It is so great to be talking to Nick again. It's felt like it's been way, way too long.
It really has. It really has, David. I'm glad to be back for this oh so special Hong Kong Cavalier rific episode tonight.
Yeah, because no matter where you go, there you are.
There you are.
Yes. So, of course, we're talking about the iconic 80s actor, Peter Weller. So, much like we did with a lot of our other 80s icon episodes, and a lot of those are online, for you to enjoy, listen to. We've done a couple of the Breakfast Club people. So, we've got Molly Ringwald episode, we've got Ali Sheedy, we've got Judd Nelson. You're also going to be, there's a Harold Ramis episode, Chevy Chase. We've got a mystery episode that we've been keeping under wraps. That's our famous episode, which I'll probably bleep that because I like to do is keep it a little mystery. And I will let everybody know at the end of the episode how you can get that released. But right now we're going to be talking about Mr. Peter Weller. And the first thing that we always do when we go through this 80s icon thing is we list off the filmography that that actor or actress had done throughout the 80s. So in 1980, he was in a movie called Just Tell Me What You Want. 1982, Shoot the Moon. 83, TV movie Kentucky Woman.
Yep, I saw that.
You did see that one?
No, I'm saying I'm looking at the filmography.
Oh, okay. All right.
No, I was about one, so yeah. No.
1983, Two Kinds of Love, another TV movie. 1983, Of Unknown Origin. 1984, The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension. And
There you go.
Phil, we really got ripped off because we didn't get the sequel to that. 1984, Firstborn. 1986, A Killing Affair. 1986, again, another TV movie called Apology. 1987, a little movie called Robocop. 1987, a TV series called Fairy Tale Theater.
I remember that. Yeah,
Really?
I do remember that as a kid. Yeah, they had that. I think they had that on the Disney Channel. But yes, I'm sorry. Continue.
Wow. Okay. I'd never heard of it before. So cool. Anyway, so 1988, The Tunnel. 1988, Shakedown. 1989, Leviathan. 1989, Cat Chaser. And this falls right after the decade ended. It was 1990. He did Robocop 2. Just wanted to bring that up because, of course, a good sequel.
We don't talk about Robocop 2. I'm sorry. No.
Oh, no, we don't? Okay, because that went over the threshold of the decade. So, right.
And also, it really, 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 really wasn't that good. I'm sorry, Dave. I disagree with you on that one.
Okay. All right. Obviously not as good as the first one. But
anyway,
but you have to admit though, it's got to be better than the reboot that we got.
Well, most things are. I've been in falls better than the reboot we got to.
Right. The tough part of this whole conversation for me is there are so much great stuff that Peter Weller's done in his latter years. Past the 80s. Such a great actor. So it's going to be tough to keep this one in the realm of the 1980s, but we'll do our best.
And also, I must say, a great scholar as well. He has a doctorate in, I believe it was a degree in Renaissance and ancient Greek artwork. So, and he taught at UCLA for a little while. So that's technically Dr. Weller.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, so he's much more like Buckaroo than I give him credit for.
Exactly. The only thing he hasn't done is drive through a mountain.
If you tell me that he's no, actually he's a musician too, because he's done jazz music with Jeff Goldblum. So
no kidding, I didn't know.
Yeah. Actually, he's performed with him. I guess the only thing that would be missing then would be the samurai stuff, right?
Probably, yes, and the fighting the World Crime League and all that. So yes,
and probably being a brain surgeon too. All right,
and a cyborg, but he'll get there.
Well, if anybody could be a real life cyborg, that would be Peter Weller. So
exactly,
it'd be very akin to the $6 Million Man. There'd be somebody sitting there going, "We can rebuild him.
We can make him better, but not by much."
Not by much, no. That's a very high bar to hit. So Nick, what is your favorite 80s moment with Peter?
Well, I mean, we sort of covered the big ones, and it sounds so cheesy, but again, the 80s, I was very much a kid, so I had to sort of play a lot of catch up. So my first exposure was obviously Robocop, and I remember watching the movie probably far younger than I should have been. Or far younger than I should have been watching it, rather. But I was at a cousin's house, and my mother only found out just how violent that movie was pretty much by the time it was over. So I didn't really get into trouble, but I couldn't watch the movie for years after. But I do remember the striking imagery, and that was one of my first exposures to R-rated movies. And, you see it from a very simplistic standpoint, but then years later I found out just what went into putting him in that suit, and I gained a whole lot of respect for him.
Oh yeah.
Apparently he lost at least a pound or more of sweat every day in that suit until they actually had to install fans in it because he was slowly dying in that Robocop armor.
Wow. That I can imagine. What that would be like. With lugging all that stuff around day to day. And if there was no ventilation, that would be rough.
That was legitimate metal right there. And I guess something else he did was that he took some mime classes, so he was actually able to move properly in the Robocop suit. So he wasn't looking all stiff and robot. He actually was able to do the fairly smooth movement from those mime classes.
So he took a class on how to walk like a robot.
I guess really when you get down to brass tacks, yes. And he actually looked human because of it. So yes.
Yeah. Wow.
A great dichotomy.
So RoboCop sounds like this was your jam. So I mean, was there a favorite scene in that one?
I mean, let's see. Well, looking back on it now, obviously, the scene where he busts up I guess you could call it the crack house, where he sort of busts in and tries to arrest like that entire group, and they try to resist, and he takes them all out. Then he grabs Clarence and throws it through the window about 6 or 7 times.
Right, right.
And that's pretty much the iconic scene of revenge. But then, strangely enough, when I got into college, I had a roommate at the time who was very much into the more offbeat, quirky movies. And we were browsing the sort of kind of very sort of countrified video barn that existed in the town we went to school in. And he found a for sale copy of The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension, which had been out of print at the time for a very long time. So he was very happy to find it and was very interested in all of us seeing it. And I remember the time looking at it like, oh my God, that's Robocop. and I remember at least the first time watching it, having the hardest time following that movie. And it took about 3 or 4 more viewings, and then it finally, but for the grace of God, began to make sense to me. And I've loved it ever since. So,
yeah, for me, it's always been Buckaroo.
Really?
Yeah, I think I've loved that movie since the first viewing. And yeah, I mean, so much so that I mean, it's even made it into the bumper for the podcast.
Yep.
I always got to include the quote. No matter where you go, there you are. And I just love this movie. And to me, it is the quintessential sci-fi 80s movie for me. I mean, I know there's so many other great sci-fi movies in the 80s, but for me, I mean, if it's on, this is going to be the one that I'm going to just stop and I'm going to watch no matter where it's at, and just I'm going to continue to watch it. I love this movie. It does no wrong for me. So much with John Lithgow. So many great lines.
As Lord John Warfin.
Exactly. And just the quirkiness of how cool Peter Weller is, as just being,
rock star, samurai type.
Right. Oh, the president's on the phone? Okay. Patch him in. It's like, no big deal. Another day at the office.
Well, I remember, like, when I first saw it, I mean, this sounds weird to say this, but when I first saw it, I didn't like it. And as quirky as it was, because I liked the quirky stuff, I couldn't figure out why I didn't like it at first. But then after, my roommate was the type of person who would watch something he liked about 7 to 10 times until you couldn't escape it. And so after a couple more times watching it, I realized that it required the audience to sort of want to be in on the joke. Like, the whole thing was sort of a riff on the old 30s adventure serials, like you need Doc Savage or, The Shadow, just like this sort of invincible kind of multi-talented hero.
Yeah, and it kind of had a pulpy kind of...
Very pulpy.
Yeah.
And it played it really, for being 80s, it played it really straight. And it required you to want to be in on the joke. Once you were in on the joke, it made perfect sense and it was awesome.
Right.
It played it completely straight. And once you figured that out, it was a great movie. But I think, honestly, that's probably why it didn't do so well. One of the reasons it didn't do so well when it came out, because audiences just weren't aware of the pulpiness of it. They didn't know how to come in on it,
Right. Because maybe, at that time, a comedy was definitely a comedy, and it wasn't trying to play it straight-laced. You had the movies like Airplane or Spies Like Us or things like that, and you knew that was a comedy going into it. Whereas this one, you were like, am I supposed to be laughing at this, or is it supposed to be some sort of legit world, that they live in, that they're trying
with
to
with
accomplish.
history to it.
Yeah.
And it was also like, it was sort of like you were coming in on a pre-existing series. Like they played it as if there's like this big history behind Buckaroo Banzai, the Banzai Institute, that, it's almost like you came in on episode 3 of 6, and
Right.
you're not, and like, what if you figure out that you're supposed to not feel, that you're supposed to kind of feel kind of alienated, then you're able to laugh. But if you don't feel like you're out of the joke, then you can sort of get angry. At least that's what I took away from it.
Yeah, you're right. It felt like it was something that was already in progress that you just joined in on, because he already had the history of these characters, and you're like, who are these guys? What, Hong Kong Cavaliers? What am I supposed to know who they are?
These people? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it was just kind of like, you kind of got a premise of who everybody was, but you didn't really have an origin story.
Yeah.
And I think that, I can see how that would be difficult to swallow, because that's what we're used to getting. We're used to getting a bit of a setup. Yeah.
Especially nowadays with like stuff like the Marvel Cinematic Universe and whatnot, and origin stories up the wazoo.
Right.
Coming in on something just completely alien without any like expectation, like something like, even say Batman, like they created a history of whole cloth and sort of expected you to sort of adjust.
Right. And the good part about it is, right there, center stage, Peter Weller, just played it so well, and and it was just kind of, like I put it, it was another day at the office, and, this was his world, and you were just like visiting it for a little while, but Buckaroo is going to be there forever.
Yep. So. Yeah, Buckaroo was the great invincible hero. He was, he had all this good stuff going for him. He was a neurosurgeon. He was a samurai. He was a rock star. He was a hero. And again, you just have to learn to sort of accept that. Once you accept that, it's the best thing ever.
I agree. and maybe and maybe because I had kind of a taste of that, the comic book history and all that, maybe that's why I was more accepting of it, when I saw it the first time. I'm not sure.
Well, I have to ask, like, when you saw it the first time, because I read a little bit of a history of it, in the early showings, they handed out like stuff like a Team Banzai headband and all these little bits of swag in the movie. You didn't happen to go to one of those shows, did you?
No. I would have loved to have that, though.
Yeah, because years later, my friend, my roommate, was like looking at eBay, and you could find all those little bits that they handed out at the theater, and I just think that would be pretty awesome. And I think they handed out like a little cheat sheet as to like whoever it was supposed to be as well, like the various characters and the Banzai Institute and all that. So
you've got me curious now, where I'm curious to know how much they're going for.
You seriously, right? Yeah.
All right, so the other stuff, I mean, I had a feeling that the two of us were going to really focus on 2 movies.
I had a very strange feeling that was going to happen too. Call me crazy.
Yeah, but you'd mentioned something about remembering fairy tale theater when I was going through the filmography. What was it about that one?
Well, I remember that I was going to remember the part he played. I do remember that fairy tale theater. I think they had that on the Disney Channel, and it was just a retelling of your basic Mother Goose fairy tales or Grimm fairy tales. I can't quite remember. Someone can correct me, but it was actually had some decent stars of the day, like playing parts in these roles, and it would be sort of, in many ways, almost a postmodern take on certain fairy tales. They'd kind of do a little bit tongue in cheek, but it was pretty much played straight, and it was just live action fairy tales for the younger kids then. And and at that point, yes, I was the younger kid set. So you'd get the basic Mother Goose stuff. And now I'm not in front of the computer right now. Does it say what part he played on Fairy Tale Theater?
It says soldier. That's all it gives. That's the only title it gives him.
soldier. That could mean so many things.
Exactly.
Yes, I can imagine he was probably very tall and very lanky. But beyond that, I don't know. It doesn't say like what episode he was in.
Well, I was reading the synopsis of it. It says, at a time when most shows for children were either low-budget productions or product-inspired cartoons, there were little more than half-hour commercials. This program set out to produce high-quality classic entertainment that children would enjoy. Much inspired by earlier children's programs like the Shirley Temple Storybook, Shelley Duvall hosts this program featuring some of the best-known in Hollywood performing adaptations of traditional stories.
Exactly. Okay, so my memory was good because I do remember that it was actually pretty high budget. They did a little bit of a continuation years later, called Mother Goose Rocket Rhyme, and I don't think Peter Weller was not in that, but it was sort of a continuation of that sort of theme with the Mother Goose things, but it's a little more postmodern. But yeah, I do remember that now. I think we had HBO. No, it might have been HBO because we had HBO when I was a kid. I think that was what it was on, like early in the mornings.
I'm very curious about this now. I don't recall seeing this one at all, but then that would have been 1987, so I would have been about 16 years old. So
yeah,
I would have really,
a little away from the demographic, Dave.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been something I would have wanted to check out, but I'm very curious about it now.
Yeah, 87. I was about 5 years old, so yeah, it was probably right there.
Yeah, you're right there at their demographic. So a little earlier today, I do this thing on Twitter called 80's Battle. And what I did was I put retweet for Robocop, like for Buckaroo Banzai. Who do you think won?
Well, it depends. Again, this is probably the nerdiest thing I'll have said, this month, but it really depends on how you plan it out. Because if Buckaroo's got the Cavaliers with him, he's got a fighting chance.
No, I just said for Buckaroo Banzai. I didn't say Buckaroo Banzai and the Hong Kong Cavaliers.
They're both highly focused on justice. So Buckaroo, I don't think, would fight, and Robocop's directives would prevent him from fighting. So I think eventually they would come to some sort of truce.
Okay.
I don't think they would actually. I don't think there would be conflict. They are both highly focused on justice and rightness. They would probably end up coming together to take down both Clarence Boddicker and Hanoi Shan, and that's like the nerdiest Buckaroo Banzai reference I could possibly make. And those who understand exactly what I'm saying, I salute you. But I could. That would be so awesome, actually, now that I think about that. I kind of want to see that happen now. A Robocop Buckaroo Banzai crossover.
That would be so awesome.
I think Dynamite Comics has the rights to Robocop now. Get on that. Get on that now. I will buy it.
So you had to pick one. You had to pick one between those two people. Which one would you pick?
If I had to, that's like making me choose between my children. I'd have to say Robo, just because he has the heavier direct loadout. I guess if you actually had to fight each other, I think Robo would have the advantage.
All right. Well, our Twitter followers gave us 6 retweets and 7 likes, so they picked Buckaroo.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
well,
Buckaroo won.
Kudos to you, Professor Banzai. I guess you avoided the wrath of the Auto 9 and the data spike, invariably going into your throat. But yeah, great, awesome, wonderful. I guess the power of rock.
Yes.
The power of metal. Yeah.
And there's a couple people responded to that particular tweet, so I want to give them a quick shout out. Mark Thomas at Vulcan Jedi said that he's watched Buckaroo Banzai more than any other movie at least 50 times.
Oh, sunny boy. Man, I thought I watched Buckaroo a while. 50 times? Wow.
And then they also sent a pic to us of the Buckaroo Banzai movie adaptation comic books.
Oh, yep. I've pictures of those. Yeah, they're pretty awesome looking. think it was Marvel. Did Marvel do that?
That was Marvel. Yes, sir.
Yep. Yeah, they were really into all the adaptations way back when. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm sorry. No, finish the Twitter stuff. I'll
No,
talk about it.
I was going to say another one that's Nancy and Peter fan says, I love hashtag Robocop, hashtag Peter Weller, and hashtag Real Nancy Allen are my fave actors. Hashtag Robocop is one of my greats.
Nancy Allen, great, one of the great partners in cinema. Good old Lewis.
Yes, yes.
What is RoboCop without Lewis? I asked you.
Just not as great. That's definitely for sure.
That's great.
And then Matt Hansen at Matt_Hansen says Robo, of course.
Yeah, I think it's just the idea of the indestructible metal man, as cool as Buckaroo is, you know. I think backed against a wall with bereft of Hong Kong Cavaliers, staring down an implacable force of, you know, destruction. I think there's a fairly good chance he would lose.
And then I did another thing on Twitter where I was asking, what's your favorite 80s Peter Weller movie/moment?
And I'd like to hear about this, yeah.
Yeah, and I got a few responses on that one. Once again, Mark Thomas at Vulcan Jedi says, thinking, oh, if it was a snake, it would have bit me.
There you go.
Wasn't that awesome answer?
Yep. God. Now it's all coming back on me. I've got the DVD. I haven't watched Buckaroo in forever and a day, but now it's all coming back to me.
It's making me want to put that bad boy in, is what that's.
I know.
Yes.
Do you have the DVD, by the way?
I do not.
But
I'm creative to find stuff, though. So.
Well, because one of the options that you could put it with is Pinky Carruthers' 1,000 Unknown Facts. And it's like a little data commentary, but it's got all these little factoids in universe about Buckaroo Banzai and the Banzai Institute, and it's really funny. It just brings up all this like heretofore unknown backstory about the whole of the Buckaroo Banzai thing, and it just adds a whole bunch to the movie as well.
So this is on the DVD, is what you're saying?
It's on the DVD, yes.
Now I've got to go find it.
Yep, and I have to say, you know, at risk of demolishing the fourth wall, the writer and the creator and the director and the creator of Buckaroo Banzai are so committed to keeping this universe intact that even in the dialogue commentary track, they have the director, W.D. Richter, but they have supposedly Rito, the Hong Kong Cavalier Rito, like in character doing the commentary track, talking about the movie versus quote unquote real life. And it is honestly one of the most surreal commentary tracks I've ever listened to in my life.
Now I've got to find it.
Yeah, and again, not to take anything away from Peter Weller, the actor, but damn, sir, you made some beautiful work in the 80s.
Yes, definitely. So 2 more things. Charger fan and WY at Sith Lord of Che says hashtag Robocop.
Thanks, huh?
And there was one more that was in there. Jason R. Wells ESQ, JR Wells 82, which is somebody that we normally get Twitter interactions with, says, as much as I love Robocop, there's something about him battling a giant rat in Of Unknown Origin I love a tad bit more.
Oh, gosh. We didn't even talk about that, yeah.
So, Of Unknown Origin, are you familiar with that one?
I know the name, but I never really thought much to actually look at the movie.
Yeah, me either. But basically, the synopsis says a man who recently completed rebuilding a townhouse becomes obsessed with a rat infestation until it becomes an interspecies duel. So I guess he is up against rats. That's interesting.
What is it with rats versus people of the 80s? I mean, they had that movie Ben, and was the original Willard, was that the 70s or the 80s?
Oh, geez. Willard. Oh, I'd have to look that one up. But as you were speaking, you say what was it about rats? I kept thinking of Princess Bride.
The ROUSs, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think there were certain themes that just permeated across the entire decade, and apparently rats was one of them.
Willard, 1971.
Okay, so but they did the sequel, which was Ben, and I don't remember when that was, but that gave us that lovely Michael Jackson song, speaking to the 80s.
Right. All right, so those were the Twitter shout-outs. That probably kind of wraps up the 80s stuff, right? Unless there's something else you wanted to talk about it. Because I wanted to spend a few minutes talking about his latter work.
Yeah, well, I mean, I agree with you. Let's go with his latter work because, he's had a long and storied career, and as much as I would love to spend this entire time just fanboying out about Buckaroo Banzai and Robocop, it'd probably be a disservice just ultimately to focus on just that. So
We'll return after these messages.
Detroit, the near future. Officer Alex J. Murphy and his partner Ann Lewis fight to rid the decaying city of the criminal element which infests it. After being mortally wounded in the line of duty, Officer Murphy is outfitted by OCP with bulletproof titanium robotic parts and with computer-enhanced motor and sensory capabilities. He has become the ultimate super cop, Robocop.
Everything was fine before he showed up.
You're my father, okay? You might have been fine, but I wasn't fine.
Jake was the first one to sense something was wrong.
I am your mother. You don't talk to me that way.
And act like it. Now he's the only one who can save her.
Get him out.
I can't.
Firstborn, rated PG-13.
Starts Friday at a theater near you. Check your newspapers for local listings.
Robocop, part man, part robot, all cop.
drop it.
Robocop and the Ultra Police, each sold separately. The only cops with rapid repeat cap firing.
Evil headhunter on a skullhog is cruising for trouble. Robocop in his armored Robocopter takes off after him. Fire Robo-missile. We'll give you a lift to jail.
You put Robocopter together. Robocop vehicles and figures with Robocaps, each sold separately.
Excuse me, is someone out there not having a good time? Somebody crying out there in the darkness? Somebody crying.
I'm sorry.
Can we get her a mic and a spotlight? Tommy, can we run her a mic? Get Blaze to run her a mic?
Are you serious?
Yeah, run her a mic. What's your name?
Who cares?
Well, I care. What's your name?
Right.
Penny.
Did you say Peggy?
No, my name's Penny. Penny Pretty. It doesn't matter. It's not important. I just sponged up a little too much fat 69. That's all. I'm down to my last nickel in this lousy town. And they wouldn't even take my luggage and hop. I lost my room in the Y this morning. But it's cool.
Hey, now. Don't be mean. We don't have to be mean. Because, remember, no matter where you go, there you are.
Yeah, for me, it's all the shows that he started participating in that I was a big fan of. and what comes to mind are Dexter.
Yep.
Sons of Anarchy.
I heard. Yep. Oh, beautiful. That was some good work.
Yeah, and I don't know if you ever watched the TV show Longmire. He's in that one.
That's a show I've been meaning to get into, especially now that it's on Netflix. That's like on my list of things to binge watch. When I do remember seeing him in the mid 2000s, I had a roommate who was super into 24, and season 5 he was one of the bad guys, Christopher Henderson, who was this ex-government CPU agent who done bad things to Jack Bauer and Jack Bauer's friends, but he brought that usual Peter Weller gravitas to it.
All right, yeah,
straight, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry to say I never really I don't even think I've seen an episode of 24.
It's an acquired taste. I will definitely give it that, but
yeah.
My roommate at the time was obsessed with that show, so I sort of came along for the ride. I'm like, oh my god, it's Peter Weller.
Oh, but yeah, I mean, he does it really well. Where you've got the characters that he's playing that and sometimes he's a good guy, but then there's other times he's a good guy, but he's got a dark edge to him.
And it sounds so shallow to say this, but I honestly think it's to do with his voice. He's got that very authoritative voice that could be anything, really.
Right.
He could be like lecturing you on the history of the Greeks and Romans, or he could be saying, "I've got a bomb in this building here, trying to find it." But it's just got that edge to it that you're just like, well, I should listen no matter what you're saying.
Right. Exactly. And proof positive. He was in Batman: The Dark Knight Returns, which was an animated movie that DC did, based off the Frank Miller graphic novel. But he was Batman.
He's Batman. And to be honest, when I read that he was going to be the voice, he wasn't the first person I would have thought of, because I own that book, the original The Dark Knight Returns, and
sure.
In a compilation book. And remember reading it as a kid and having my own idea of the voice, and his is not the first I would have picked, but listening to it, I'm like, no, I can see it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because I mean, you needed a darker, edgier voice, because I mean, you're playing, he's playing Bruce Wayne in his much older years.
Yeah, mid to late 50s. So
right. So the voice that we had gotten so used to, the Kevin Conroy, he probably couldn't have pulled that. I mean, I know he could have pulled it off.
No, I mean, honestly, this is a whole other discussion, but if you've ever watched a single episode of Batman Beyond, he totally could have pulled it off. But anyway.
Right,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, Peter Weller did awesome with that.
Yeah, totally. And a very, very unexpected, but very, very good choice.
Right. But yeah, Sons of Anarchy, I loved him with that one. And then also, like I said, Longmire. But were there any other ones besides 24 that you wanted to talk about?
Well, and I'm killing myself now because I was thinking about it, and I'm trying to find it on IMDb. But he actually hosted I think it was a History Channel series that he actually came on screen and did the narration for, and I'm wasting valuable airtime trying to find this, but oh no, here it is. Let's see. It showed. Yeah, he actually did a few things on the History Channel, but it was about ancient history and various different things. And it was just, again, gravitas. He doesn't really need to be doing much of anything except for speaking. I do remember he was on a few episodes of Star Trek Enterprise as a bad guy, and it's got that he had that, like, I also think it's his face too. He's got that determined scowl that could either be very heroic or very evil.
He pulls those off really well.
Really well. I mean, and it would be the exact same expression, but all you have to hear is, in one sentence he's a hero, in one sentence he's a villain. You're just like, yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, I'm just looking through his just tons of credits, and I'm just so impressed.
I know, and it's like one of those careers. Like, he's a character actor, but he's been a character actor that had some pretty iconic characters. So it's one of those things. If you're an actor, you sort of wish you had his career, just because he's been in so many varied roles, and he's probably got a lot of really cool stories to tell. And Mr. Weller, if you could come on the show, I'd be very happy.
Oh, definitely. we would love that. And actually, what I'm trying to do is I'm working out his age. I'm curious now. And he's 69 right now, and I don't have any indication whatsoever that he has got any plans to stop.
And nor should he.
No, not at all.
That's one of those things where it's like, just keep doing what you're doing, sir. If you like what you're doing, go for it and keep at it, because we are watching.
Yes, we
will. And we like watching. Yes.
We'll continue to watch.
And as much as it sounds like we're fanboy, I'm dead serious. I've looked at your career and I've looked at all the stuff that you've done, and I can only hope to be as awesome as that. So, hey.
Yeah, it's like, when I look at, people that have such a long history like that of, in, the performing arts like this is, sometimes I wonder to myself, did I make a wrong turn somewhere in my career choices? Because, you've got to
I think about that every day. Yeah.
You've got to just imagine these guys that are doing this for all these years, it's something they're passionate about, and it's something that they're going to be, they're probably jumping out of bed and saying, let's go. And how many of us do that with our day-to-day job?
Well, this is, I guess, 80's reboot philosophy here.
It
but
is.
But the especially for a fellow like who's been working for so many years, you have to think about how long it took to quote unquote pay his dues.
Right. And
would any of us have that sort of chutzpah to keep going after Lord knows how long it took? And and let's be real here. As awesome as the first Robocop was, the sequel sort of took a downturn. So that must be kind of disheartening after a while. Hell, he wasn't even in Robocop 3.
Well, I probably didn't want to be.
No. I the script wasn't great. No.
Right. But you're probably, because, looking at, he got his acting start in 1973, and he didn't get into Buckaroo until 1984, and then Robocop not until 1987. So, that's definitely putting in a good 11 years at least before, getting something that would be, I don't know. I don't even know when you're doing it, if you're thinking this is going to be iconic, but hopefully it's, you hope something good comes of it.
Well, I can't speak for the man himself, but I know that if I were to read the script for Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension, my immediate knee-jerk response would be just, huh? Go ahead. It's like, okay, I guess I'll do it, but okay.
Well, for me, it'd be like, you're going to be a lead, and, we're going to, just have this multiverse that you get to play in, and I'd be like, yeah, sign me up.
And for years and years and years and years, they have been trying to continue Buckaroo Banzai, reboot it, do it with Peter Weller, do comic books. And I know they did a few issues of a comic book series in the early 2000s, but they've never been able to get a good foothold in continuing that. Because I know, and I've heard, and of course, I don't know if you've heard this rumor, Dave, but the big, big rumor that I don't think I've ever been able to see substantiated was that the original script for Big Trouble in Little China was originally Buckaroo Banzai versus the World's Crime League, like they promised at the end of that movie. And then when there was no interest, they retooled it to Big Trouble in Little China.
Honestly, I think I heard that theory from you.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I know I've heard it before. I just trying to remember if I heard it from you or if it was somebody else.
Sorry, listeners. I tend to repeat myself. I apologize.
No. It's definitely, it's worthy of this show, to bring that up, just for those that haven't watched, haven't gone through and listened to the, the 80s Reboot Overdrive archives. And I'm trying to remember if that's who I heard.
Don't mention that on air, Dave. We're trying to exude an air of competence here. Come on.
Oh, that's true. We're all about knowing our facts and figures and research.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. No, I didn't just admit that I had no idea what was going on. No. Don't you know? I do extensive research for every episode.
Yes. Our crack research team is making sure we're getting every little detail 100%. Just for our listeners.
Because we care.
I'm sure we've got tons of things wrong, but that's all good.
Well, that's why we have Twitter followers. Correct us, please.
Yes.
By God, correct us, because I don't mind that in this case. Because if I'm wrong, I like to know why.
Yeah, and it sounds like a great theory. I mean, Big Trouble Little China does have that same kind of feel to it.
Yep, I've heard rumors that Lo Pan was originally Hanoi Shan, which makes perfect sense actually. But yeah, no, it would have been interesting. Again, it really required that people were in on the joke, and I just think it was the wrong movie for the right decade. It was very 80s, but it was just too weird.
Yeah, and I think it was just weird enough.
Yeah. Oh, it reeks of the 80s. Oh, it bleeds 80s.
It does, but in a very pulpy kind of way. If
very
that makes
pulpy
sense.
40s. Yeah. Very pulpy 40s way for the 80s, but yes.
40s Reboot Overdrive.
That would have. Wow. Okay. Yeah, that would actually be kind of cool. I don't think you hear many podcasts about stuff from the 40s. I'll take it.
No, you don't.
But actually, we're gonna go into modern stuff. You have seen, I assume, Star Trek Into Darkness.
Yes.
That was another big role for him. Was Admiral Marcus playing a bad guy, an authoritative bad guy.
Which he does so well.
He does. Getting back to the gravitas thing,
right.
Is that probably the only person who could out gravitas him in that was indeed Benedict Cumberbatch as Khan. Spoilers, but
Khan. Sorry.
Well, this time it was Spock that screamed it, but yes.
Right.
And but yeah, so again, it was one of those things where you're just like you're watching the movie and all of a sudden, Peter Weller.
Okay, so do you have any final thoughts on Peter Weller in the 80s?
Nothing really except evil, pure and simple from the eighth dimension.
Yeah, of course we got to quote Buckaroo. So,
yeah. Sorry, Mr. Weller, you've had a wonderful and fruitful existence. Sorry, we keep bringing up your silly ass 80s movie.
Yeah, of course, because I mean that's our wheelhouse, and no matter where you go, there you are.
There you are.
I've got to keep using that. I've just got to keep using it. I just love that.
Well, laugh while you can, monkey boy.
Oh, you do that so well, Nick.
I don't know whether to be offended or appreciative of that, but thank you, Dave.
All right. So how do people find you on, or what are your social media credentials?
My social media credentials is that I have a token Facebook and Twitter page. If you want to find me on Twitter, I am at William Crow or Wheel I Am Crow. And you can find me probably through the 80s Reboot page. or you can find me on Facebook under my full name. So, and I do have a few projects that I'm working on, but I'll be able to give you more information as time passes.
Oh, teaser.
Teaser. Ooh.
Ooh. Okay. So, I am Dave. I take care of our 80s Reboot social media accounts. We'll start off Tumblr. That's 80sreboot.tumblr.com. We're on Facebook, which is facebook.com/80sreboot. You can email us at 80sreboot@gmail.com. Twitter is at 80sreboot. We have a blog. It's southgatemediagroup.com/80srebootblog. At the beginning of this whole discussion, I mentioned that we had a mystery episode that's out there. You can get that released if you give us a rating review on iTunes. So what we're trying to do is take over the iTunes 80s library. And by getting more reviews, that's how that's going to happen. So if we get more reviews, we'll dig that one out of the archives and get that out there for you.
You like mysteries, don't you, everyone?
Yes.
That's what I thought. Come on.
So that is it. So that is it, and we appreciate you reliving the 80s with us, and have a good night.
Have a good night, everyone.
We hope you've enjoyed this show. This podcast is part of the 80s Reboot Overdrive channel on Southgate Media Group. You can follow us on Facebook on the 80s Reboot group page. We're also on Twitter and Tumblr at 80s Reboot. We invite you to check out all the wonderful podcasts and blogs available at southgatemediagroup.com. And thank you for reliving the 80s.
And I think again, I just feel bad that we weren't able to cover the entire spectrum that is Weller, but damn, he's had a varied career.
Yeah, I know. And if we would have blocked off like a 3-hour discussion, I think we would have.
Oh, seriously. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, his academia credentials alone. I mean, he taught at UCLA, for God's sake.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Why did you got connections? Why didn't you get him on here?
I'm not that connected. Yeah,
Come on, man.
I mean, voice actors, I seem to be doing okay with getting those guys, but
yeah, well, he's done voice work.
This is true. This is true.
I mean, like when you had originally posted the Peter Weller thing, I mean, I would have done it anyway. But for the briefest of seconds, I thought when you posted that you actually got him, and I'm just like, yes.
Oh my gosh! If I would have said that we were talking to Peter Weller and you were the only one that responded, I think I would drop the rest of the group.
Well, I mean, like, I think I would have thought people would have been dead.
Yeah. Like, who would not want to talk to him?
Yeah, I think people that we've never talked to before would be getting on there saying they want to talk to Peter Weller. But anyway, yeah, so that was great. What's going on for future weeks?
There's this guy that I've been interacting on Twitter who has a vast Dukes of Hazzard collection. So I'm trying to get him on.
As cool as that would be, I'm afraid the Dukes of Hazzard was never really on my must-watch list.
Okay. But he's actually, he has been fantastic on Twitter. I feel like, I really want to talk to the guy because, we've been interacting together back and forth, and he's just cool.
Oh yeah, I mean definitely. Yeah. I think it's a good idea. I'm just afraid I don't think I'd have much to contribute except the fact that I've always wanted the General Lee horn for my wheelchair.
I'm sure you could probably find that somewhere.
I probably could. Yeah. Now, if I could make the chair leap into the air without breaking it, that'd be great.
Oh, there you go. And then you put the 01 on the front, on the side, and
and see if I can jump the chair off to jump into the chair sideways, like just slide into it. Them pro boys better learn to start jumping through the air or flapping their arms.
You should actually go back there on. I'm pretty sure I put it on the Facebook, but I found a clip of the origin of the General Lee.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you should go back and find that clip.
I will, because I did read about how the Dukes of Hazzard, apparently they destroyed the majority of that run of the Charger on the Dukes of Hazzard. they destroyed all those Charger stunt cars, and that particular run has become like ultra rare because of the Dukes of Hazzard.
Well, the clip that I posted though was the in story, for like when Cooter started working with them, and the reason why they chose the color, and when they were starting to weld the doors shut, and then Uncle Jesse was like, "Why are you doing that?" So, yeah, it's really kind of cool.
Because I know that, I mean, I didn't watch the freaking Dukes of Hazzard yet, so I know this. I know that the reason they couldn't use guns is because they had been in jail and they weren't allowed firearms. So that's why they used, like, the crossbows and stuff.
Oh, yeah, that's right. God, it's been too long, but yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yep.
I kind of wish I kind of want a Boss Hogg suit now. Kind of walk around with the white suit on and the cigar.
Well, when I was in the Navy, I had the white suit, and that's not.
Did you really?
Yeah, no, not again.
No, you don't want to dress. You don't want to get the cowboy hat going and walk around saying you're going to get them Duke boys.
No, definitely not. That's not. I would go Miami Vice before I go that way.
That's true. Do you have any pastel shirts in your closet?
I do not. No.
Yeah. And you got to wear shoes without socks. Remember, you can't be wearing socks.
Right. Exactly. Loafers without socks.
Exactly. And a pet alligator.
Or I could just pull off the Magnum look, just a Hawaiian shirt and work on the mustache.
I was gonna say you're gonna get the powerful Tom Selleck 80's mustache going.
Right.
The mustache is not popular anymore. You got to get like the big thick one.
Yeah, I couldn't grow one of those if I wanted to.
No. Like the only mustache I grow now is it would be unnerving because it only goes with my beard, and if I took the beard away, it would look just strange. I'd honestly look more like Higgins than I would Magnum.
Yeah, for a while there, I had the mustache only thing going on, and the wife was like, "All right, well, you look like some sort of like deranged detective, so could you?"
Thanks, honey.
Thanks, dear. I love you too.
Isn't it strange? Like nowadays, like the straight mustache, you look like a math teacher. Anyone does.
Right.
That's gone out of style. Just the straight up mustache now. It's always like a goatee, or the full beard, but never just the straight mustache anymore.
But not everybody can pull that off, because if you look at somebody like Kenny Rogers now, he just looks weird.
He does, doesn't he? Like, and he's got kind of the trucker stash now almost.
Yeah.
And I think, and honestly, we joke about it, but I think Tom Selleck set the bar too high, because everyone thinks of mustache, they think of Magnum.
Right.
So then when we try to pull it off, we just look dumb.
Yeah.
And then the only other person with a mustache in the 80s was Hulk Hogan. And you're not going to pull off Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, I guess if you looked at Burt Reynolds, that would have been late 70s.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But again, when you
Cannonball Run.
Yeah. But again, no one's Burt Reynolds and no one's Tom Selleck. We just end up looking kind of weird.
Right. I don't know why I just thought of this, but I was like, could you imagine the Hoff with a mustache?
Sadly, I could. Because, I don't know.
No, wait. He did have that look. He had a mustache goatee. It was a fake one, but in Knight Rider, when he was like the evil.
Oh, yeah, when he was Garth.
Yes. That's right. He did have that.
Forgot about that. Yeah, when he was the actual evil son of
right.
Of the head of Knight Industries. Yeah.
And it didn't look bad.
No, it did. But he also did he have the eye patch too?
No.
Oh shit. Okay, because I'm just trying to remember because they really made him up to be like, I'm evil. But yes, I remember that now. Oh God.
Yeah, that was just like one step away from the Star Trek, the original series, when they did that mirror.
Mirror universe, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mirror Spock. And So here's the thing though, since you and I both have goatees, what would our evil duplicates be? Would we be clean shaven?
I would assume an eye patch.
An eye patch we'd be clean shaven with an eye patch. That would be Evil Dave and Evil. Yeah.
Yep.
80s reboot mirror. We should have like a mirror universe episode where we just talk about how much we hate the 80s.
Oh, that would be funny. I would love that. We would do a whole episode of nothing but bashing
the 80s and everything to do with the 80s.
Yeah.
And how much we love the 70s.
Actually, I did the episode that I posted on April 1st. I did this thing. It was a solo podcast, and I spent the whole episode talking about how I was quitting 80s Reboot Overdrive, and I was going to do 70s Groovy Overdrive. And so I spent.
Honestly, I would pay to hear you on that.
What was that?
Honestly, I would pay to hear you on that because that was your childhood.
Right. So go back. It's called 80s Micro Reboot, and it was from April 1st.
I'm gonna listen to it. Oh yeah.
And I just spent a good 30 minutes and I put in audio clips from, old TV shows and movies and things like that from, way back when. And I'm like, imagine we now have a 70s show where we can do this and we can talk about that. And it was, and it was just like, yeah, I'm sorry I'm stepping down from 80s Reboot Overdrive, but I really feel like I got to do this 70s thing. And I just had fun with it. And at the end of it.
Did people actually write you and believe you? Please tell me they did.
I had one Twitter person that responded, and Scott, one of our co-hosts, Scott.
Yep.
They were the only responses I got.
Oh, I would have loved to have had people no, or they would be really enthusiastic and yeah, do 70.
And Scott, as he was listening, he was sending me messages via Facebook. He goes, okay, if you're serious with this, I kind of want in.
Yeah, well, again, that was that's totally your wheelhouse. You just think of all the times when you were kids watching BJ and the Bear and the Fall Guy.
Right. Yep. So yeah, give that one a listen. Let me know what you think.
I will totally. All right, brother. Well, I'll talk to you later. Keep me updated.
You got it, sir.
All right, man. Have a good night.
You too. Good night.
All right.
Bye.